All right, so the week 5 activity on joins is, unfortunately, it's not one that was designed for a do-it-yourself online class. This is actually a page that was inserted, I think, for the on-campus students that the on-campus teachers will do as a class discussion. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to walk you through this so that you can try it out yourself a little bit, follow along with me at home if you dare, and we'll see if we can make some sense of this. So I'm going to jump right to the joins SQL. The first thing you want to do is download and install the joins SQL script right here on your MySQL server. So give me 1 second as this downloads. And on my system, it's set up to directly open with MySQL server, MySQL Workbench. You need to connect to your database server real quick. Once your connection is established, it should be a simple matter of just executing that script and creating that schema on your server. Bunch of green check marks, no red stop signs. We should have a completed. All right, here we go. Joins, and then we have 2 tables: customer and transaction. And going back to the class module, we have this joins activity here. So here you have an example of the customer table that you just created and the transaction table that you just created. So there's 3 customer records, there's 4 transaction records. Let's make sure that looks appropriate for what we just loaded. There's the declare statement. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, they gave us a few extra. Looks like we have 6 customer records in the actual data, followed by 1 through 9 transaction records. So looks like what we have on our classroom module here is just a sampling. Okay, so with that in mind, the purpose of this exercise is to show the differences in different types of joins, the result output. So here we're going to take a first look at the inner join. So you can just copy that, drop it over here on your MySQL. Let's open up a new tab, or a new script page here, editor window. Paste that in there. Looks like it dropped it all in line. We're going to add a few spaces and get the formatting cleaned up. And this, by the way, is why I need you as a class to please submit your homework not in Word form, because it messes up the formatting and it makes it very difficult for me to check. So, all right, let me throw some spaces in those. Oh, there's one more on. Alias T. That should work. All right, so we're telling it to select the customer name, the transaction date, and the transaction amount from customers inner join, where you have customers and transactions overlapping. Okay, so inner join means show me all records that have an associated customer record and transaction record found in both tables. Okay. And what did we get wrong? Unknown column, customer name in field list. Fantastic. Customer name. Okay, so again, I apologize for the quality of this exercise. It is not quite clear. Let's go ahead and make sure the transaction, yep, transaction date, not tran date. Transaction date and transaction amount. All right, so there we go. Oh, we're gonna go cust ID. It's gonna be actually customer key. All right, let's try that one more time. Now that we've cleaned that up, there we are. Now we have a inner join that shows all customers who have transactions, okay? So inner join tells us the overlapping data between the two tables. All right, now comparing that, let's take a look at what an outer join will do for us. So we're going to look at a left outer join. A left outer join preserves all information from the left table or the first table in the select or the from statement, and then appends any missing or any available information found in the right table or the second table to be joined. So again, let's take a look at what that looks like here as I clean up my formatting. Goodness. All right, let's go ahead and just take that. And same information in the select. I suppose I could have just as easily changed the join syntax and then kept everything else the same. Maybe I'll do that on the next one, save myself the headache. All right, here we go. So now with the left join, it says, grab me all the customers, every single customer in every record, and then add, if there it's available, join the transaction records. Now we also are going to have two customers who do not have transactions. Dave and Gabe here do not have transaction records, which is why they were excluded from the first join, the inner join, from the previous select statement. But in this one, we're saying let's keep everything in the first table. This would be the left table, okay? And any additional information you can pull from the right table will be in the left outer join, all right? So it works similar, for those of you familiar with Excel, that's like a VLOOKUP, okay? So it'll add data, and where you have a null, that would give you an error in a VLOOKUP in Excel. So let's take a look at a right outer join now. Okay, same exact context, same idea, except now the roles are reversed. Now we're going to look at all transactions and see if we have a customer associated with them. So here again, this looks just like our inner join because we don't have any transaction records that lack a valid customer record. Now, if any of our customer records were blank or missing here, that would mean we have a transaction record for a customer that has not been entered into the customer table. So again, your right outer join in this context now says we're going to keep every record in the right table, which is our second table, and we're going to append any available information from our left table, which is, again, our first table, the customer table. All right, so let's go back to our query options here. Let's see what else we have available. Full outer join. Again, a full outer join in this context is going to look a lot like our left join, but let's go over why that is. And oh, that's right. I don't believe MySQL Server actually supports a full outer join. Let's check that. Yep, it doesn't. Okay. So this one we're just going to have to talk about in theory because it's not available in MySQL Server for demonstration purposes. But in T-SQL and a few other SQL languages, you'll have the full outer join, which is to say, bring me everything from both sides and match up where you can. So again, if you were to have customers with no transactions, they will show up with null transaction fields. If you have transactions with no customers, they will also show up with null customer information fields. And then where they overlap and where you would have gotten in just the inner join, you will see all columns filled out and completed. Okay, so that's a full outer join. You're not going to see that in MySQL Server, but it is available in other SQL languages, and it is a useful join format to be familiar with. All right, and finally, we have our cross join. Now, cross joins are fun. They give you everything, but not only that, they create what's called a Cartesian join. They will force every record to match every record. And let me show you what that means. Now you notice in this syntax, we do not give it an on keyword. We don't tell it what to join on. And so basically what it's going to do is take every transaction record and match it to every customer record. Now it's not an appropriate solution under this context because customers are in fact related to transactions on a one-to-many basis. But in some cases, if you have a second set of information that you want to apply to every record in a first table, a cross join would become an appropriate solution. So again, execute that, and here we have a full table, and we should have 40 or 54 records, right? We had 9 in the original table of the transaction table. We have I believe we had 6 in the customer table, so 9 times 6 is our 54 rows. So there you have it. We have Alice is getting joined with every single transaction. Bob is getting joined with every single transaction. So here's Alice with transaction 1, and here's Alice with transaction 2 and transaction 3. And again, everybody gets joined with transaction 2, and then everybody gets joined with transaction 3, and so on down. All right. Again, if you have any questions about that, go ahead and reply after this video or submit a question in our weekly discussion board. But hopefully that clears things up a little bit. That's what you're kind of expecting here. So what you're looking for is assume one-to-many. This is asking you to do a theoretical exercise with this set of data right here and say, if we do an inner join, how many records should we have? Well, if we do an inner join between these two tables, this customer table and this transaction table, we only have 2 customer IDs available and 3 transactions have valid customer IDs. So on an inner join, you're actually going to have exactly 3 records returned. Just these 3 transactions associated with 2 customers. Okay, that is the maximum number of rows you should get from an inner join. From a left outer join, again, you're going to look, assuming the customer is your left and transaction is your right, you're going to pull all 3 customers in. So you will get 3 records. Actually, you'll probably get 4 records because 1 is going to be duplicated in 2 different transactions. Customer 1, Trent here, has 2 transactions, so you should have 4 records between those 2 in a left outer join. And a right outer join, you're going to have all 4 transaction records joined to these 2 customers brought in, but you'll still have 4 final records because you're doing a right outer join. You're going to pull every record instance found in the transaction table. And then finally, again, your full outer join is going to bring in Kate, or Trent and Kate will be matched to those 2. So you'll have 3 transactions for matching customer IDs. Excuse the chime there. And then also Barbara will be included because it's a full join, so that will be a 4th record. And then the 5th record will be this transaction ID number 4 with no customer. So you'll have a grand total, once again, of 5 records. So you'll have 1 for each of the transactions, plus 1 for Barbara here who has no transactions. So that's your full outer join. And then your cross join will net you the product of the 2. So you'll apply every customer to every transaction. So 3 times 4, you'll have 12 total records on a cross join. So I hope that is a little bit more clear as to what that is and how that exercise is to work. And again, if you have any further questions or need any further explanation, reply to this announcement or start up another thread in our discussion board questions for the week. Thank you and have a great week.